Good morning, everyone, and just to let you know that I recorded this whole message late last night, and anyway, the volume was not working right, so here I am this morning. I thought I would just lay the cards back out the way they were, and just go back through the reading with you, but that's why you won't see me shuffling this time. I'm having a lot of trouble with my phone these last few weeks, and so I'm just trying to go with the flow here and make it work. But I did want to still get the reading out to you because I thought it was a pretty good one. Today's chakra is on, our reading is on the root chakra. So if you've been feeling like you've been carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, or trying to stay strong but secretly wondering when life is finally going to feel stable again, this reading might be for you, okay? There might be a message in here for you. So the root chakra, for those who don't know, it's the energy center that represents your foundation. It governs your sense of safety and stability, security, belonging, and your ability to trust both yourself and the path unfolding before you. So when this chakra is in balance, you tend to feel grounded, resilient, and confident in your ability to navigate life's challenges. But when it's out of balance, you may find yourself feeling anxious about the future, overwhelmed by responsibilities, or uncertain about your finances. Could be uncertainty about your career or your relationships, or just simply feeling like you've been stuck in survival mode for far too long, okay? So just take what resonates and leave the rest. Trust your intuition, of course, and we'll see what Spirit has to say for us, the message he has for us. So the first question I asked was, what energy is currently influencing or surrounding the collective's root chakra today? And we got the Star, okay, the 9 of Pentacles and the 10 of Pentacles, okay? One thing I like about this question is that it helps us understand not only what's happening in our lives, but what Spirit wants us to learn through it. So every challenge carries a lesson, and every lesson creates an opportunity for growth. Let's look into this. So the Star here is the energy of hope. It's the energy of healing, renewal, and just trusting that the future can be better than the past. So it's often the card that appears after a difficult season. It's saying, don't lose faith. Keep looking forward to what's possible, And then the 9 of Pentacles, it shows someone who has done the work, okay? You've become self-sufficient and confident, and you're able to stand on your own. It's not just about money. It's also about self-worth and realizing that you can take care of yourself, okay? And then with the 10 of Pentacles, it kind of expands on this, okay? And it says, this is long-term stability, legacy, family, security, and creating a life that lasts, okay? So this is kind of all of our goal, right? So what's beautiful about these cards is that I don't think Spirit is showing that the collective is focused on simply surviving anymore. I think Spirit is showing people who are beginning to believe they deserve more than survival, okay? There's hope here, and there's healing here. So there's a desire to create a life that feels peaceful and stable and secure. Not just for today, but for the long term, okay? Okay, so let's move in to our next question. Well, before we do that, I just wanted to kind of summarize that whether you're rebuilding after a relationship or working toward financial freedom, or even searching for a new new career, let's say, or starting a business. Some of you could be preparing for retirement, or just simply learning to believe in yourself again, you know. But these cards are encouraging you to keep investing in your future. So every healthy choice that you make, and every dollar you save, or every boundary you set, you know, every step you take toward your goals, it's helping create the life you're hoping for, okay? So you may be hoping and desiring to become more independent financially, right? So again, the Nine of Pentacles, it isn't only financial independence, it's also emotional independence and confidence and self-respect and knowing your own value. So, you know, someone can have money and still not embody the Nine of Pentacles. So this card, this Nine of Pentacles card says, I know who I am and I know I can build a beautiful life, okay? All right, so let's move into the next question. The next question I asked was, what fear, wound, limiting belief, or past experiences creating imbalance or blocking the collective's root chakra from feeling completely safe, grounded, and secure? And we got the Queen and King of Cups, which was very interesting. The Queen and King of Cups together, it usually points to first the emotional energy, not financial dependence. So since this is the root chakra, you know, you might ask, how do these emotionally mature figures relate to feeling safe, right? It's interesting because together, these are two emotionally mature, compassionate, and balanced energies. So this tells me that the deeper wound... Okay, so as I was saying, I got cut off yet again. And I was completely done with the reading again. Oh my gosh. So with the King and Queen of Cups, I think that's where we got cut off. I was just saying that that this tells me the deeper wound may not actually be about money, that or even stability, you know. It may be about emotional safety, okay? So for some of the collective, perhaps you've experienced relationships where you didn't feel emotionally supported or understood, or even secure. Maybe you had to carry the emotional weight for everyone else, or maybe someone wasn't emotionally available when you needed them most, okay? And experiences like that can quietly affect our root chakra because they make us question whether it's truly safe to trust or depend on others or even open our hearts again, you know? So, but for others of you, Spirit may be reminding you that your sense of security, it cannot depend entirely on another person. These cards encourage emotional balance within yourself first. And when you know your own worth and learn to nurture yourself with the same compassion that you give someone else, you begin creating the stable foundation you've been seeking, okay? So I think Spirit wants you to remember that real security comes from within, you know. Healthy relationships can certainly add to our lives, but they shouldn't become the source of our identity or our sense of safety. The more emotionally balanced you become, the more stable every other area of your life can become as well, okay? Yeah, so the life you're hoping to build begins by creating emotional security within yourself, okay? And I think that's a strong root chakra message that Spirit gave us, okay? Spirit's shown us that the journey toward greater stability doesn't begin with changing our circumstances. It begins with healing the beliefs we carry within ourselves. When we start feeling emotionally safe and worthy and secure from the inside out, our outer world often begins to reflect that healing as well. So let's go into the next question now. I asked, how is the root chakra? imbalance showing up in the collective's daily life and their relationships, career, finances, emotional well-being, physical body, or spiritual journey. And what is Spirit asking us to become aware of today? And we got the Nine of Wands, the Queen of Pentacles, the Nine of Cups, and the Three of Pentacles. Okay, so yeah, with the Nine of Wands, it's basically saying that you have been carrying a heavy load and you've become used to doing everything yourself. Okay, with the Queen of Pentacles, I think Spirit wants you to become grounded, nurturing, practical, and secure. This is someone who creates stability rather than waits for it. Okay, and then with the Nine of Cups, this is all about emotional fulfillment, gratitude, confidence, and believing you deserve happiness. Okay, and then we have the Three of Pentacles, which is like healthy support, collaboration, community, and building something meaningful with others. Okay, so many of you, I think, have become accustomed to surviving, that you've convinced yourselves you have to carry every burden alone. Okay, because the Nine of Wands shows that exhaustion. But the Queen of Pentacles reminds you that true stability isn't about constantly struggling. It's about learning to care for yourself and trust your abilities and build a solid foundation one step at a time. Okay, and with the Nine of Cups, that tells me that as you begin recognizing your own worth and appreciating how far you've already come, you'll start feeling more emotionally fulfilled and confident. So from that healthier place, the Three of Pentacles shows that you're able to build with others, whether that's a healthy relationship, a supportive work environment, a business partnership, or just simply allowing people to help you. I think Spirit's reminding you that you don't have to carry everything by yourself. Okay, so again, I think Spirit wants us to become aware of the difference between being independent, and being isolated. Those aren't the same thing, right? Independence is healthy, but feeling like you have to do everything alone because you don't trust anyone or because you're afraid to ask for help, that is something entirely different. Okay? Okay. So you might want to ask yourself, where can I create more stability in my life? Where can I care for myself with the same compassion and show everyone else, just the compassion that I show everyone else is what I'm trying to say. And where might I allow someone to support me instead of carrying every responsibility on my own? Okay. So I think the strongest foundations aren't always built alone. They're often built through healthy support and trust and shared effort. Okay? Okay, so before we move into the second half of today's reading, I want you to take a moment to reflect on what Spirit has revealed so far. You may want to pause the video and spend a few moments journaling on these questions, or you can come back to them later. Okay, so the first question is, where in my life have I been operating from survival mode instead of a place of trust and stability? What experiences have shaped my beliefs about safety, security, or independence? In what areas of my life am I being invited to trust myself more? Where might I be carrying burdens that I no longer have to carry alone? And what is one small step I can take this week to create a stronger foundation for my future? Okay? Just remember, healing doesn't happen through one big breakthrough, right? More often it happens through the small choices we make every single day. Okay, so every step you take toward honoring yourself or trusting yourself and creating stability, it's helping you build the life your soul is calling you toward. Okay, this right here. Okay. So if this reading's resonating with you so far, I'd love to have you like the video and share it with somebody who may be on a similar journey as you. Also subscribe to Sacred Season Healing. It helps grow the community so the videos can reach more of the collective. And also, I would like to just say, you know, I would love for you to put in the comments, do you prefer this system where I ask the questions and have the cards already pulled before I start recording, and then my recording just includes the overview, the central message that Spirit has given us? Do you prefer that? Because I want to honor your time, and I know it takes quite a bit of the video to just ask one question at a time and shuffle and see what cards come out. But on the other hand, I also realize others like to see that. So just let me know your opinion in the comment below, because I'd like to, you know, do what's best for my collective, okay? With question 4, what truth, healing, perspective, or shift in mindset will help the collective strengthen and balance their root chakra moving forward? We got the Page of Wands, the Fool card, and the 8 of Cups, okay? So what this is telling me is, I think Spirit's encouraging the collective to reconnect with the part of themselves that's exciting and that, you know, that they're excited about in life, okay? Because the Page of Wands is curious, he's passionate and open to new possibilities. And if you've been feeling stuck or weighed down by fear, this card reminds you that there's still something within you that's ready to dream and explore and grow, okay? And then with the Fool card, it reminds us that every new chapter begins with a choice. You know, we don't have to know every step of the journey before we begin. Sometimes faith begins you know, it just means taking the first step, even when we can't yet see the entire path, okay? So Spirit's asking you to trust yourself and trust where you're being guided, okay? And then with the 8 of Cups, this is the part that can be difficult because it asks us to walk away from what's familiar, and that's hard, you know. Sometimes that could be a relationship, a job, an old identity. It could be limiting beliefs, fear, or simply a version of ourselves that we've outgrown. And so I think Spirit, he isn't saying, you know, walk away because you failed. Spirit is asking us to walk away because something better is waiting for us, okay? So for many of you, this may feel both exciting and scary at the same time. The root chakra, it naturally wants certainty and security. So stepping into something unknown can feel uncomfortable. But Spirit is reminding you that growth often begins just outside our comfort zone, okay? So you don't have to choose between safety and growth, because, you know, sometimes the safest thing you can do is continue growing into the person you're becoming, instead of staying in a situation you've already outgrown, okay? So you might want to ask yourself, what have I been feeling called to do that I've been putting off because of fear? Or maybe it's applying for, you know, a new job, or starting that business, moving to a new place. It could be ending a relationship that's no longer healthy, or simply just believing in yourself a little more. You know, whatever it is, though, I think Spirit's encouraging you to take one small step. You don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to be willing to begin, okay? All right. So, what I love about these cards is that Spirit is, you know, he isn't simply asking us to let go of the past. He's inviting us to walk towards something that's more aligned with who we're becoming. So every step we take in faith, it helps strengthen the foundation we're building for our future, you know? So, all right. Now, let's go to question 5. What is the most important message Spirit wants the collective to remember as they continue healing and strengthening their root chakra? And what we pulled is the 7 of Cups and the Page of Wands, okay? Now, with the 7 of Cups, this can represent possibilities and opportunities, okay? But in a root chakra reading, it also asks what's real and what's fear. Because sometimes when our root chakra is out of balance, our minds create so many what ifs that we become overwhelmed and frozen, you know? And then the Page of Cups, it comes in with a completely different energy. It's open-hearted, curious, hopeful, and willing to explore without needing all the answers. So together, I think Spirit's most important message today is not to let fear, uncertainty, or overthinking keep you from moving forward. Okay, the Seven of Cups tells me there may be several opportunities or choices or paths available to you, but instead of becoming overwhelmed by all the possibilities or imagining everything that could go wrong, I think Spirit is inviting you to stay open and curious, okay? And then the Page of Cups, it reminds us to approach this next chapter with an open heart rather than a fearful mind, okay? So just be willing to learn, be willing to grow, and don't be afraid to begin as a beginner, you know, because sometimes the greatest opportunities come when we're simply willing to stay open and, you know, just say to ourselves, I'm open to seeing where this leads, okay, where this is going to take me. So for some of you, you've been disappointed before. It's understandable if part of you is cautious, but Spirit's reminding you that every new opportunity doesn't have to end the way the last one did, okay? You don't have to know exactly how everything will unfold. Your job isn't to have every answer today, you know. Your job is just to remain open to the possibilities Spirit's placing in front of you and trust yourself to make wise choices one step at a time, okay? So if you've been hesitating because you're waiting for absolute certainty, this may be your sign to stop looking for perfect clarity and just start taking small intentional steps. Explore your options, ask yourself questions as those, you know, doubts or fears pop up, you know, ask yourself, you know, is this my intuition or is this fear? Is this coming from a place of fear and uncertainty, okay? Remember, fear and uncertainty creates anxiety within us. We feel anxious, but the thoughts that just are kind of like there, or they kind of appear or nudge us, that's our intuition. So just trust your intuition and remember that every expert, right, that did anything in this life or even in other lifetimes, every expert once was a beginner, and they made many mistakes and failed many times, but they kept getting up and trying, okay? They were resilient, even though they got tired sometimes, okay? So just remember that, okay? Now, the next question, is what blessing, opportunity, spiritual gift, or transformation is likely to unfold as the collective continues healing and strengthening their root chakra? And we got the Five of Swords. So, you know, at first glance, the Five of Swords, it can seem like an odd card for a blessing, but in this position, I don't think Spirit is saying, here's more conflict. I think Spirit's showing what you're going to transform or what you are transforming, okay? And it's interesting that only one card is what Spirit gave us, and it was the Five of Swords, because normally we think of this as conflict, tension, or mental battles. But because this card came out in the position of the blessing or transformation, I believe Spirit is showing us what begins to change as we heal our root chakra, okay? So the transformation that is no longer, it's no longer, you know, feeling the need to fight every battle. You begin letting go of that inner dialogue too that's been telling you you're not enough, or that you have to prove yourself, or that, you know, you have to win everyone's approval. And instead, you start choosing peace over conflict and confidence over fear, okay? So many of you have spent so much time fighting to survive, whether that's emotionally, financially, or in relationships, that you've become used to living in a state of tension. And as your root chakra heals, that constant feeling of being on guard begins to soften, okay? So the blessing isn't that you'll never face challenges again. The blessing is that you'll respond to them differently. You'll begin choosing your peace instead of every argument, and your healing instead of old patterns, you know, or even your future instead of staying stuck in past struggles, okay? So You might want to ask yourself, what battle am I still fighting that I no longer need to carry? It could be an argument with someone else, or it could be an argument that you've been having with yourself. Spirit is inviting you to release what drains your energy so you can invest that energy into building the stable, fulfilling life that you've been working toward, okay? Yeah, okay. So now what I would like to do before we close today's reading is I would like to give you some spiritual tools that you might want to use on your spiritual healing journey. I'll start with some affirmations, go into some movement, some sound healing frequencies that you can listen to, some crystals, essential oils, and then some daily practices of self-care, okay? So starting with affirmations, I am safe, supported, and deeply rooted. I trust myself to create a stable and abundant life. I release fear and welcome peace. I have everything within me to build the future I desire. I choose faith over fear, one step at a time. Some movement. You might want to spend time grounding your energy through a walk in nature, gentle yoga, stretching, strength training, gardening, or simply standing barefoot on the earth if you're able to do that, okay? Physical movement helps reconnect us with the present moment, and it reminds our bodies that we're supported, okay? Now, some sound healing frequencies. You might want to try to listen to 396 hertz. It's a frequency that's often associated with releasing fear, guilt, and survival-based energy while supporting our root chakra healing, okay? Some crystals would be red jasper for grounding and stability, black tourmaline for protection and releasing heavy energy, smoky quartz for emotional grounding and letting go of fear, hematite for balance, strength, and feeling centered, okay? Now, some self-care. This is just an invitation. If you don't care to do these, that's fine. Just leave it here. This week, you might want to choose one practical action that helps you build a stronger foundation for your future. So it could be creating a budget, updating your resume, applying for a new opportunity, organizing your home, spending time in nature, setting a healthy boundary, or simply allowing yourself to rest after carrying so much for so long, okay, without guilt. So remember, lasting change is often created through small, consistent steps, okay? So again, if this reading resonated with you, please like, share, subscribe, do all the stuff. Leave me a comment too. You can share with us if you feel comfortable where this is playing out in your life, or how it is, what resonated with you the most. But also, I would love to hear your feedback on today's reading. Just, do you prefer this system where the questions and the cards are pulled before I start recording, and I just go through it maybe a little quicker this way and give you the overall central message that came out in the reading? Okay, so please let me know that. And thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I truly want to value your time. Yeah, I hope this brought some clarity, encouragement, and a renewed sense of hope, okay, as you continue building a life that feels grounded and peaceful and aligned with your highest good. So until next time, take care of yourselves, and remember, every season of healing is preparing you for a season of growth, okay? I'll see you in the next reading. Bye.